talked about intercepts, so we're just going to look at them one additional way. Yes, Kyle?
Am I allowed to, like, instead of taking notes, am I allowed to take a picture of the screen?
You could, but I post my notes on my website every day. So they're already there.
It'd be easier for me just to take.
Do we have to do that?
Personally. Because it's easier.
You can, but this is what I tell my children. The more senses that you involve while you're learning, the longer you remember the material and the easier you learn it. So if you're not actually doing the writing, for most of us, we're not learning as well. Not all of us, but most of us. Some people can just sit there and watch me, and they are golden.
I like to write.
Yeah, I do better like that.
But we'll see. What do we have? I'll talk to your parents and see how they feel about it. If they're good for it, then I'll let you.
Okay, so am I allowed to try it for the first time?
No, let me have the discussion with Mom.
Okay.
And then.
Well, I can text her.
No, she's working. All right, here we go. Zeros, intercepts, extrema. So zeros occur where the function has a value of 0. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah. Yes,
Zeros occur where the function has a value of 0. So if we had these functions, f of x equals 2x plus 7, how could we find where the 0 of the function occurs? Well, it occurs where the function has a value of 0. So for f of x, I plug in 0. So 0 equals 2x plus 7. So I've solved this now. Subtract 7 from both sides. Divide by 2. So this function has a value of 0 where x equals negative 7 halves. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So let's take a look at number 2. F of x equals x squared minus 25. Let's find the zeros. So we plug in 0 for the value of the function. So we get 0 equals x squared minus 25. Add 25 to both sides. 25 equals x squared. Now before we actually solve this, let's just talk about what this means. I am squaring a number and getting 25. It is either 5 or negative 5. This is where when you take the square root of both sides, you get plus or minus. So it's positive and negative 5. So the zeros of this function occur where x equals 5 and where x equals negative 5. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, you try number 3.
Wait, so, like, if that one would still be a function, though, right? I know
All these are functions.
All right, I know that has nothing to do with, like, what we're talking about.
Right,
It's just
right. We studied that the other day.
Yeah, I was just double checking.
Okay, so we have 0 equals x divided by 3 plus 2. So negative 2 equals x divided by 3, multiplied by 3. Negative 6 equals x.
You got that?
You got it?
I got that.
Excellent. Okay. All right, so now let's look at zeros on a graph. So here's our graph. We're going to use this graph for a couple different examples. So let me give you some of the key points here. We'll do some points where it intersects the x and y axis. So this point right here is the point negative 3, 0. This point right here is the point negative 1, 0. This point down here is the point negative 2, negative 2. This point right here is the point 0, 2. Up here, this is the point 2, 6. Yes, 2, 6. And this point here is the point 4, 0. Okay, so if you're sketching this to try to take notes, that's a great idea. And now you have some points that you can use.
Wait, so you want us to draw what on our sheet?
It's always good to have excellent notes.
Oh, whatever you say, you're the teacher.
Okay, on this one, am I allowed to take a picture? Because this one's kind of complicated.
This one is pretty complicated.
This one is pretty complicated.
It has photos written
I'm
all
afraid
over
I have a class full of whiners today.
I'm a whiner.
That's Ryan. Ryan's not here today.
Yeah, but I don't have graphic.
I was explaining that to Ryan because he'll be watching this video in a little bit.
Gotcha.
All right, so my zeros. Where the function has a value of 0?
It's
Where is that?
0, 2. That one, yeah. That one.
Okay, if I'm asking where the function has a value of 0,
Wouldn't it be negative 3?
function is the f of x part.
Well, why did you say
Where is the f of x part equal to 0?
negative 3, 0, negative 1, 0, and 4.
Okay, so what did we just discover about zeros? They are the same position as what?
The x-axis.
The x.
See, I was busy writing and I didn't hear you say that.
Intercepts.
Yeah.
Phew, we got there. We got there. Okay, so zeros of a function occur at the x-intercepts. So if we know the zeros, we also know the x-intercepts. If we know the x-intercepts, we also know the zeros. Isn't that lovely?
Yes, it is.
So what are zeros again?
It's where the function has a value of 0. The function has a value of 0 when x equals negative 3, negative 1, and 4. So the zeros of the function occur where x equals negative 3, negative 1, and 4.
Why is it on the X?
Huh? See? The y value is what? 0. The y value is what? 0. The y value is what? 0. That's why they're zeros. The function, which is represented by y, is 0, 0, 0.
I like that.
Abby feels pretty strongly about this. Okay. While we're here, and we've already talked about the x-intercepts, what are the y-intercepts, or sept?
Negative 0, 2.
0, 2.
2.
This one
6.
has 0, 2. Will a function ever have more than one? No. And why is the answer no?
Because the input
Very good, because it would fail the vertical line test. Okay, so a function will not have more than one y-intercept because at that point it would fail the vertical line test. Any questions about this? All right.
Oh, dang it. I hadn't finished writing.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Wait, so 0, 2 in the,
It's the y-intercept.
Okay, I'm done. I just needed the
That's
X
fine.
things, yeah.
okay, I get this.
Okay, great. All right, finding intercepts algebraically. We have already done that. How did we graph everything when we did linear programming?
Finding the
Intercepts, didn't we? So we already know to find an x-intercept, you just plug in 0 for y. So my x-intercept, I would start off doing 0 into y. 0 equals 2x minus 5. 5 equals 2x. 2.5 equals x. So my x-intercept is the point 2.5, 0.
Yeah.
All right, y-intercepts. What did we do?
It's just
We plugged in 0 for x.
But because that's a slope intercept form, you know, you can just do.
Beautiful. Great connection there. Because it's already in slope-intercept form on this particular one, we know the y-intercept is negative 5 because it's in y equals mx plus b form.
Yep.
So on this one, the y-intercept is the point 0, negative 5. All right, any questions about how to algebraically find intercepts? Good. Then I'm going to mix it up a little bit. Let's try these. I want you to find the zeros and intercepts of these functions. You try.
Oh gosh. I can do this, not. What? I was, no problem.
Bless you. 10x.
God bless you.
Alright, that was uncalled for, Rollins.
I'm sorry, I'm really so sorry, what?
Oh, cool. I'm so glad.
Was I supposed to have a realization?
Yes.
It's the 0 and the x-intercept. Should I have realized that probably about 10 minutes ago? Or like 3. I'm sorry. That's okay. I'm just happy. I just didn't really think about it, you know?
Number 2 should be easy because we've already done it.
Yeah, I guess.
Good. Keep going.
Is it negative?
No, it's
Negative and
No, it's 5.
It's negative and positive.
Thank you, Matt. You are correct. It's positive and negative 5.
That's
Well, I was going to redo it.
Mine wasn't wrong, but yours wasn't wrong either.
Yes. Yes. What number times itself 3 times is negative 27?
Sorry, I feel stupid.
No, no.
No,
We haven't done one like that before. Yes. And that's what you're asking yourself. What number times itself 3 times?
So there's something special we have to do for solving, yeah. Take it, absolute 0, yeah.
You still use 0 for FX?
Do we do something special about absolute 0?
You still have a 0 on the other side, like for the FX?
Oh, you want me to raise my hand? I think that's what a lot of teachers do. Like they don't answer unless you raise your hand. And once you raise your hand, alright, so was absolute 0? Yes.
Oh, X intercept is.
Still solve.
0
That's
for
what
Y.
Absolute value that
You
or something.
get
We'll talk about that.
6. Yeah, what did you do? How do you do number 3, Miss Wilby?
Oh, how do you get
Did you get it close?
I think I got it.
Okay, get it close and then try number 4 if you're not sure what to do.
Is that it
Yes,
right
Father.
there?
Do you like YouTube? Is it Sunday Bloody Sunday?
What about your
Or
Y's? We don't have Y's.
Yes, ma'am. Is that a yes then?
No, Y.
What are these zeros? I know you just went over that. Will
Y
cheat?
intercept.
I didn't what?
Did you say it was will cheat?
No.
Y intercept.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Silly cow.
Yeah.
No,
Cow. I'm not a cow.
I didn't say you're cow. Yeah, I said silly cow.
You said Kyle like heart.
Well, I'm a really religious man, so I can be quiet.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty conservative
So that's
myself.
minus 3 get it now.
Yeah, that's the answer. Okay,
Oh, stupid?
no.
There's an X intercept.
No.
Sorry, Matt, pretty fun one.
Y. You mean Y intercept?
Alright.
Focus 0 for X.
Okay, now I can close.
Wait, why was the ring button?
I can bring it.
Silly me.
Okay, I have a question. Those are absolute value. So it's just X.
I don't have
With the thing around. Did I get close, Miss Willoughby?
Yeah, you got
It's 6,
yeah.
negative
Yeah,
5,
one last little
negative
step.
7.
What do you do in the Huh?
Okay.
You just don't.
All right. I think you guys did the ones you're able to do. So for number 1, did you get that the zeros are negative 3, which is the same as your x-intercept, which is the same, and your y-intercept is 0, 6. Are we okay on that one? All right. So then when I was walking around, it looked like we had this one too, because we had done it earlier. So we get 25 equals x squared. So our zeros are going to be that positive and negative 5. So the x-intercepts would be at negative 5, 0, and positive 5, 0. And then our y-intercept, if we plugged in 0 right here, do you see it as negative 25? Okay, so we had done this one before, so we should have been okay with it. All right, this one's a little different. So we plug in 0 here. And we move the 7 over. And then we divide by 3. All right, so let's think about what this means. This means, what can I take the absolute value of and get positive 7/3? I can take the absolute value of 7/3 or negative 7/3 and get 7/3. So those are my 2 zeros. So my zeros of the function occur where x equals 7/3 or negative 7/3. My x-intercepts also happen at the same spot. So it's 7/3, 0, and -7/3, 0.
Would it be incorrect to write 7/3 equals whatever of x?
This, you can't leave it there. You have to go take it to the next step.
Oh, yeah, I can handle
Okay.
that.
And your y-intercept, if we plug in 0, we get out 0 minus 7 is -7.
Why do you write the 0 in front of it? Like, why do you write it like? Why do you write
Like an ordered pair?
Yes, ma'am. Do we have to do
Because
it like
our
that?
x and y intercept should be written as ordered pairs.
The y-intercept.
So we have to do it like that?
That'd be best.
Okay, because before I just wrote like the x-intercept is 3 and then the y-intercept is 6.
So look like
It's not wrong.
It's just that was better.
I like this way better. Okay, so here we plug in 0, and some of you got here and some of you didn't. So we get -27 equals x cubed. Well, what we have to think of in our head, what number can I cube? Multiply times itself 3 times and get a -27.
3.
Negative 3. So the cubed root of -27 is -3. So our 0 is going to occur at -3, where x equals -3. Our x-intercept is the point -3, 0. And if we plugged in 0 for our x, our y-intercept is the point 0, 27. Okay? All right. I'm just going to let you read this with me, and then you don't have to write the whole thing down. If you want it, it's on my website later. Okay, extrema. Extrema is the last thing we're learning today. So we did zeros, we did intercepts, now we're doing extrema. Extrema are the extreme values of our function. Where does our function have a maximum or a minimum? So extrema just means a maximum or a minimum value of the function. Do you see how I abbreviated that max and min?
yeah, it's
Okay.
like
We really have 2 different types of extrema. One's called absolute and one's called relative. And absolute would look like this one. Do you see that this is the absolute lowest point on the graph? There is not a single other point that is lower than that one. Well, that's considered an absolute minimum. Versus this one down here. Do you see how this graph goes up forever? And it goes down forever. But this little point right here is lower than the points around it. So it's called a relative min. This point here is higher than the points around it. So it's called a relative max. So we can really classify our extrema in 2 different ways, as absolute or as relative. Now, on your end of course test, I don't think they're going to classify them. I think they're just going to ask you for the extrema function or any maximums or minimums. And you wouldn't have to worry about specifically saying it's an absolute, because an absolute is absolutely the highest or lowest point on the graph. A relative is just in relation to the points around it. It's either higher or lower. Another word that they can use for relative is also called local. So if looking in this local area, it is the lowest point. Now, do you see how they kind of look like valleys and mountaintops? That's what they are. Valleys and mountaintops. Yes, sir.
could like relative kind of be opinionated? Because couldn't you think a point on the far left where it goes up is local to it? Or
No, it's pretty black and white with math. That's one reason why I like math.
yes,
You got it, Andrew?
you seem like a confident.
Okay.
Dude.
Okay, so if we go back to the one we've looked at already, do you see we have this valley right here? That would be considered a relative min. Because relative to the points around it, it is the lowest point. Now, it's not absolute because why? Well, this graph goes down forever. So anytime we have the arrow pointing down forever, we're not going to have an absolute min.
Well, wouldn't it just be infinity?
And no. And this point right here is higher than the points around it. So it is considered a relative max. Now, it's not absolute because this goes up forever. Now, when we talk about maximum or minimum value of the function, what we're really talking about is just the y value. But this year, I would like you to write it like this. The relative min occurs at the point -2, -2. Later on, as we get into upper level mathematics, will ask you for the maximum value of the function. And at that point, you're just going to give me the y. But right now, I want you to say the relative min occurs at the point, and you don't have to write occurs. So just say relative min at here. Relative max at here. It's really just the y value, but we're going to use the whole point right now, and you'll see on Monday why we're doing that. Okay, so let's look at this. Domain and range. Do you see it's missing those 2 points right there?
Yes.
It would be negative infinity to positive infinity if it wasn't for those two, wouldn't it? But it's going to be negative infinity to what?
0.
0. Do I include it?
No.
No?
No.
Union with, what's my next interval?
Parentheses 0.
0
To 2. What's my last interval?
2.
2 to infinity. Beautiful. Range. Is every single y value accounted for?
Yes.
Yes.
It goes down here forever, and then it goes up here forever.
Oh, negative.
Yes. So it's going to be negative infinity to positive infinity. All right, zeros. There's 1. What is that one? Negative 2. Okay, we're going to have to estimate on these two, aren't we?
Oh.
What do y'all think? 2.75 sounds good.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And then 3.25.
Yeah,
So now that we have these, we also have our x-intercepts, right?
Yeah.
They're just the same thing. So we'd say negative 2, 0. 2.75, 0.
But there's no extrema.
And 3.25, 0. Okay. What about y-intercept?
Oh, we have another wire. I was going ahead.
Y-intercept? Ooh, it's an open dot, isn't it? That means there's not one.
There's no way or so.
Oh, not one.
Say no.
Really?
Oh, you
Huh.
should say no.
Okay. And extrema. Now, when we look at this, if we go by our definition of relative being higher than all the points around it, are these points really higher than the points around it?
Well, isn't
No.
So I wouldn't define this as a relative max, but this is a relative min. So this is a relative min, and it's going to occur at the point 3, negative 1. Okay, your homework is practice with zeros, intercepts, and extrema. It's actually on the back of the worksheet because I asked the aide to copy these for me and did not tell her how to punch them. And I'm thankful she copied and punched them for me, but it's kind of backwards. The front side of this is actually Monday's work.
Does every teacher have a student aid?
Our math department has a student aid. I don't personally have my own aid.
You know, if I ever go into business procedure, I would want to be your aide because you're one of the really nice person. And I'm not just doing that to like be all nice to you. I seriously
Want
want
to
to
be that? You got a name?
All right, guys.
Actually, she came today.
Wish I had the
Tonight?